My name's Thorsten-Sideb0oard and I run a music label called Highpoint Lowlife. We started it in 2001, knowing very little about the music industry. We're just me and my friend. We were sort of music fans running a club in San Francisco, a weekly music night. The club's maybe a bit strong. It was a cocktail bar that we used to DJ'd in. It was a late night license, and we had a lot of local musicians down to DJ. That was pretty much what our angle was. We'd invite local musicians to come and play their own favourite records, and based on that we met a lot of local bands and musicians, and we were going out a lot, so we decided to start our own record label from that. We just thought it'd be quite a fun thing to do without actually knowing anything. So we started compilation, we got a lot of people involved, and this 2001, I'm trying to think exactly when, like Napster was around the same time. We had Napster then, I'm not sure if it was just before or just after. So it's quite interesting time that we started just as Napster, the first P2P service, was actually coming online and people were sort of downloading music for free. It wasn't something we even considered when we actually started the label, when we still thought in terms of actually selling CDs and vinyl. Shortly after that, moved to London and got involved actually in a different record label. My friend that I moved here with, we started Tisk Records, and we brought Eraser Rattle over, who were making it kind of big in the States at that point, or becoming known in San Francisco, and we thought it was a good time to license the record and bring that over. So that was actually my first proper insight to the music industry, because that went very well. Eraser Rattle became very big, and we set up a European tour for them. And within a few months of that, actually Blast First actually licensed the record from us, and that was the first taste of how the independent music industry had been working up till that point. From reading Simon Reynolds' Rip Up and Start Again, when it was talking about sort of rough trade and the sort of high point of independent labels selling a lot of records, I think that was like perhaps the tail end of that, where it was actually we actually licensed that record. We got like, you know, a couple of grand. It's covered all our costs, and it was still, you're talking about several thousand units being sold. And that was actually the way we sort of started with Highpoint Lowlife as well. We're sort of pressing 1,000 CDs and expecting to sell them. Now, times have changed since then, as more and more as digital sales have evolved. You know, actually trying to sell 1,000 CDs now seems so it seems so optimistic to actually even try and sell 1,000 physical units of something. In a sort of independent sense, it seems like the only people who can still shift units like that are where you're getting a massive amount of hype. The other things I actually see more and more is labels that are run by the artists themselves as their own vehicle for releasing their music, and that seems one of the most other alternative valid methods at the moment as well, where it can still happen, you sort of backing your own stuff and pushing it out there. Now that all sounds a bit doom and gloom, but that's not actually how I mean it either, because it's just an evolving model. Like, there are new forms of sort of digital labels starting up, and the fact that there's very little overhead for starting a digital label is amazing. Like, you can actually get like sort of scenes, micro scenes kind of growing from themselves. You can get distribution easy. They're not having to invest tons of money, and as long as they find, you know, you can sustain yourself with a couple of hundred fans, or even just, you know, sort of its own kind of scene. It doesn't have to be making money, and I think that's actually one of the bigger things that's changing. It's the money is kind of dropping out of the music industry, and I think that's probably a good thing as well. It actually just becomes back more to the actual music and the scene itself.
A lot of people talk about sort of the feedback loop they get from using the internet as a medium for distribution. If you compare it, maybe when you started off with the first few releases that were not internet releases to now, do you think you get more sort of audience or user interaction, or the label is sort of a platform to have musicians talking to the people that listen to their music, or is that?
Yeah, I think there's definitely a lot of examples of that where, especially, I mean, there's been Facebook and there's been blogs and webs, but I think specifically Twitter is the one where you actually have direct communication with the artists, and you very much get more of a feel for their personality. And I'm not like, I think there's going to be multiple levels of effect here from that, because on one hand there is this sort of rock and roll mystique of like, now your heroes kind of thing and not knowing anything about them, but that just doesn't seem to fly these days when so much people have now direct communication with others. You can still build in Mystique even when you've got like communication. Now it's how you communicate then. But I think definitely most artists, you feel much more direct contact with them. You feel a right to actually be able to communicate directly with them. It definitely removes a layer in between there, and I think that's a very good thing also.